Right. So this topic is gonna be really quick, mainly to get you guys understand about the concepts and where are you going to use it in your group project, mostly about a part of discussion. So even though you are studying about attitude or perception, motivation in your group projects, but in your discussion and suggestion part, you can well integrate these concepts in and make your recommendations for the project even better. Okay, so however, we're not going more so deeply into how to measure these concepts because it's rather they are rather difficult to measure. And so this one, let's start with self-concept. Self-concept is defined as all of the individual thoughts and feelings that someone has towards himself or herself as an object. So imagine that if you step outside of your body and you look back into yourself, what do you see? What do you think, and what do you how do you feel about yourself? So it's a concept, like this self concept is the final product of all of the attitude, perception, lives not lifestyle, personalities, experiences that this person has that form an image of his or herself in his or her mind. Okay, so when we think about self-concept, we usually examine these 4 dimensions. So it's not just simply how you see yourself, but in different situations and in different meanings also. So we look at actual or ideal self-concept. That means what is the current perception and what is the expectation that you have for yourself, right? And so in terms of private self, like actual private self, how I actually see myself, and in terms of ideal private self, how I would like to see myself. That means what are some expectations that you have for yourself, that you try to be, that you pursue to achieve in your life, right? What is the image? What is the future self that you expect to see from you? And then we have the social actual self. That is how others actually see me. So you may constantly try to collect cues, information, some kind of clues about how others see you, how others think and feel about you, and form that as a part of your self-concept as well. So as some types of personalities, they really really concerned with what others think about them. And for that type of personality, those people tend to make that part as a very important part of their self-concept. So they form and they see themselves as what others see them. And it's kind of sometimes problematic, right? Sometimes other people don't actually see the real you. It's just their perception. So if this type of personality, these people, they tend to borrow the ideas and the perception of others into how they see themselves, then that may be problematic. And then we have the ideal social self. That is how you would like others to see you. Some kind of image or some kind of future achievement of how you want to be, who you want to be in front of other people. So all of these perception or attitude of one person about themselves, either it's actual information that they see from their perception or others' perception, or either it can be some kind of expectation they have for themselves, for them and for in front of other people. All of these construct the what we call self-concept of one person. It's kind of sometimes you've never thought of this before, but if you really sit down and think of all of these four aspects, you may find some gap, right? And that is the nature of actual and ideal self-concept. So what marketers is trying to do is trying to jump into this perception process of consumers as a way to help them to bridge the gap between their actual and ideal self-concept. So they may help the consumers to portray a very beautiful ideal self-concept that the consumers should aim to achieve, and or point out the very current unsatisfactory actual self-concept of the consumers. And by that conversation, the marketers can show that their products or services are the solution to bridge the gap between the actual and and ideal self-concept of the consumers. A lot of I think that is a lot. It is the main conversation of a lot of brands in the last 10 years, always communicating about how we can help you to achieve what you want to be, who you want to be, right? And or help you to express yourself, for example. So all of these are related to the gap between the actual and the ideal self-concept that the consumers may have. So one of the campaign that I see quite interesting, that is also to bridge this gap. This is from the campaign from Dove. Tell me your real beauty. So that is the real beauty campaign. I think it's become the tagline of the brand already, right? I think this one is the first ever one that they introduced in the market in the US, and I would like you to spend some minutes just to watch it, to relax a little bit, to wake you up a little bit. Right, where? Here it is. All right, can you see the video? Yeah?
Yes.
I'm a forensic artist. Worked for the San Jose Police Department from 1995 to 2011.
I showed up to a place I'd never been, and there was a guy with a drafting board.
We couldn't see them, they couldn't see us.
Tell me about your hair.
I didn't know what he was doing, but then I could tell after several questions that he was drawing me.
Tell me about your chin.
It kind of protrudes a little bit, especially when I smile.
Your jaw.
My mom told me I had a big jaw.
What would be your most prominent feature?
I kind of have a fat, rounder face.
The older I've gotten, the more freckles I've gotten.
I would say I have a pretty big forehead.
Once I get a sketch, I say thank you very much, and then they leave. I don't see them.
All I had been told before the sketch was to get friendly with this other woman, Chloe.
Today I'm gonna ask you some questions about a person you met earlier, and I'm gonna ask you some general questions about their face.
She was thin, so you could see her cheekbones. And her chin, it was a nice, thin chin.
She had nice eyes. They lit up when she spoke.
Cute nose.
She had blue eyes, very nice blue eyes.
So here we are. This is the sketch that you helped me create, and that's a sketch that somebody described of you.
So yeah, let's.
She looks closed off and fatter, sadder too. The second one looks more open, friendly, and happy.
I should be more grateful of my natural beauty. It impacts the choices and the friends that we make, the jobs we apply for, how we treat our children. It impacts everything. You couldn't be more critical to your happiness.
Do you think you're more beautiful than you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
We spend a lot of time as women analyzing and trying to fix the things that aren't quite right. And we should spend more time appreciating the things that we do like.
Right, so some of you may have watched this one before, you have heard of it. So it's a very strong message from Dove that has been giving a lot of success to the brand and like help them stand out from a jungle of skincare and hair care brands, like standard, not premium, right? Just standard brands, and help to connect to the consumer at a more psychological and emotional level. So they help them switch from a very functional brand into a more emotional brand. So they create a more emotional message and connect more with the consumers with a different conversation besides their products, right? So that is about self-concept. So in some of the different ways that we can look at self-concepts, the first one we discussed about how people see us and how we see ourselves, and then it can be some kind of what we see right now, like currently, and compared to the ideal expectations that we have for ourselves. Researchers also look at how people or consumers form their self-concepts in terms of the relationship that they have with others. So they may look at themselves as a very interdependent person or independent. So when a person has an interdependent self-concept, they tend to define themselves as what social roles they play, what types of relationships that they have, and what commonalities, that means some similarities that they have with others. So, and on the other hand, we have the independent self-concept. That means people with independent self-concept, they would rather define themselves as what I have done, what I have, what personal characteristics that I have. So if I ask you the question, like, what do you think? How do you think about yourself? Then you describe to me in the terms of everything that is just about you. For example, I'm curious, I'm ambitious, I have a job that is etc. Blah blah, and then I was able to buy this. I collect what kind of product, etc. So what you're saying is if it is solely about yourself, then you are more of the independent person. That means you have an independent. You see yourself as independent. And then on the other hand, if someone asks you and then you answer that, okay, I am my parents' daughter, or no, son, or I'm a mom, I am a mom and I'm a wife, or I have a family of four, for example. So all of these are showing that you are having an interdependent self-concept. And there are some of the characteristics to these types of individuals when they have different view into the self-concept. And some of that will lead to some of the behaviors that they have in terms of consumption. For example, first of all, in terms of the message that they prefer to hear. So the people, if they are more interdependent, they would like to receive or prefer some messages that help them to, about something that help them to reinforce the relationship that they have with others. Right? For example, in the case of Knorr, for example here, cùng Knorr đem yêu thương cho bạn nhà, right? Help you to reinforce your position and your role in the society or in the community or in your family, for example. On the other hand, the independent people, they would like to hear the messages more about themselves. How do I become my own person, right? For example, the message from 7-Up, like mở lối đi riêng here. So this one is more targeting into the independent self-concept people. And on the other hand, we have some tendency of using luxury products and other types of products that these two types of individuals would use. So because the independent people, they define themselves as what they are, right? Who they are and what they have done. So they would tend to purchase more of the luxurious products in order to help them reinforce their themselves and their self-concept as someone that is successful, for example. And on the other hand, the interdependent individuals, they would prefer and may want to invest more in their relationships with the other people in their community or in their group. So some product like this kind of children insurance from Prudential, it would be more attractive to the people with interdependent self-concept. And then and you see that even especially for the independent self-concept people, because they define themselves as sometimes what assets and what they have, right? They would extend their self-concept into their possessions. So this is when we call it the extended self. When the product or the brand become involved so much in the consumer's life, it becomes a part of that person, because you do sports so much, right? You like go to the gym too much, not too much, like so much. That means that is a part of your life, your self-identity, and a lot of products that go along with that identity that help you to achieve that identity would become a part of yourself. Something that can be like when you use a product for so long, or when it's during a peak experience here, important memory. So like important memory here in my case would be, for example, my wedding ring, right? If I buy wedding ring becomes a part of my identity, that means I'm a married woman, for example. So it's it contributes to myself, even though it's a product. So that is my extended self. So in terms of measuring the self-concept, there are many ways to do that. However, in what we discussed in the course, there's one way that can help us to do that. That is the scale from Malhotra. So this one can take a lot of time to do, and that is why we're not focusing on this one in this course. It's just to help you guys to have an understanding about this concept, right? And then we have lifestyle. So lifestyle is basically how a person lives that help him or her to show out his or her self-concept. So if you're saying that, okay, I'm a very active person, I'm a very sporty person, and you must involve in a lot of activities that is sporty, right? So those activities help you to enact the how you see yourself, and in this case that is a sporty person, right? Or you saying, okay, I'm a smart person, I'm intelligent and want to know it all, right? So you may involve into a lot of activities of learning or taking courses, I don't know, try to have a lot of certificates, for example. So all of these behaviors that you have is the way that your life helps you to enact your self-concept. And it can be about just some activities that you have, like reading, right? Doing sports. And along with that, you consume a lot of services and products, right? So you say if you're reading, then you buy a lot of books, right? And if you say that you do sports a lot, that means you may join some kind of gym membership or some kind of you join some kind of sport club, for example. So you're using certain products or services along the way when you live and enjoy and engage in the activities that show who you are. Okay, so you can see the summary that I have just said here in this table, in this diagram. So we have lifestyle in the middle that includes all of activities, interests, attitude can be included in the lifestyle as well, because that's remember that how attitude can lead to your behavioral intention, right? Because like you have certain attitude, that means I am, let's say if you define yourself as the environmental conscious person, then you may have a certain attitude towards environmental friendly products, and that can help you to engage in a certain behavior, right? So it's gonna be impacting on the behavior in terms of purchase and in terms of consumption, how, when, where, what, and with whom you will purchase or consume certain kind of products. So in terms of measuring lifestyle, researchers, like even the even the academic researchers and the practical one that works for Nielsen, for example, they usually use psychographics. So that those are the measures including attitude, values, activities, interest, demographic, media patterns, usage rates of a certain product, in order to in order to be able to segment different people into different lifestyles. So in order for us to do this, we would use, for example, cluster analysis for this purpose, and it requires a vast amount of data. And in terms of lifestyle, we can segment them into very specific lifestyles for specific products. In this case, in this example, in the textbook, they give the example of the Porsche, for the Porsche cars. So they have specific lifestyles segment for that one brand or that one kind of product, or they can have very general segmentation for technology in general for here. And some of the very general framework that you guys can see, for example here, it's not specific to any product or activity. It's just how people live, right? How people live. That is vows here. This is a framework that I asked you guys to work on your homework, and they have the most popular one that is for the US market, for the US culture, but they also have, I think, up to like more than 10 other versions for other countries or regions in the world. Actually, at first, the exercise I asked you guys to do is to take the vows survey for the US and then take another one for Chinese to compare whether they result in the same segment, same lifestyle, or differently. But they recently limited the access to the Chinese version of vows. It's not about the language, okay, but it's more about the culture. So and the activities that are available in certain country or region. So you guys can just do the US version, and it's fine. And on the other hand, we have some other method to look at lifestyle. Nelson introduced PRISM. It's geographic, like you see, geographic lifestyle analysis. So this one, the logic is that people with living in the similar region, similar area, they have similar cultural background, and therefore they will exhibit certain patterns of behaviors. And usually it's, of course, in consumer behavior, it would be about consumption, like about consuming something. So for example, I am Gò Vấp Bờ, right? I live in Gò Vấp. And with this logic, people who live in Gò Vấp district will tend to go to the same place, a similar place during the weekend for entertainment. And it's true. If you are a Gò Vấp Bờ, then you may tend to go to, I don't know, Lotte Mart, Lotte Cinema, Vincom Gò Vấp, for example. So you usually go there during the weekend for entertainment. So this is the underlying logic for this method. They look at geography. And in the US, they were able to segment into 66 lifestyles in the US. So that is basically what we have to know about self-concept and lifestyle. So not much, right? But when the next time when you, let's say you find out about, you have successfully measured the attitude of the consumer towards a certain kind of brand, then in your suggestion, you may look at also the self-concept and lifestyle. So if they have such type of attitude, what kind of self-concept or lifestyle they may have, and how would you communicate to them and connect with them in terms of communication for the brand. Okay.